X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Zach, and Adam, mon frère, welcome. It's the City of Lights.
Bonjour.
Feliz Navidad.
Merci.
Gumbo.
I feel relatively nervous about this episode, almost as if my nervous system is outside of my body.
See, I was going to do a thing about how we should all be wearing face coverings, but I like yours better here. Guys, we're still in the Rona times, and I know you listening right now know this, but there's people, some reason, who listen to these episodes like years afterwards, and I got to make sure we have a time frame for why Adam and I are a little like we've
on
been
edge?
Locked in the house for a while. Yes, on edge is good. On edge is a good description of this one, Mr. Wreck. But you know what? I live on the edge, much like one of my favorite characters in X-Men. He's a newer edition, and I love him so much. His name's Jean-Philippe?
Fantomex.
Charlie Cluster 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Fantomex. Not to be confused with Fantomex or Diabolique. He's Fantomex.
Yeah, no, he's not a danger as a adjective in front of his name, but he is a danger to himself and to others, and we do need to all be very afraid of what the Fantomex is going to do to us. And we're talking about Fantomex thanks to Corey. Corey went on over to patreon.com/XavierFiles, and he said, "Hey guys, I just stole all this money and I need a place to store it. So how about your guys' Patreon feed? They only take so much off the top. It's, something." And we said, that's a bad idea, but we will give you an episode based on one of your suggestions, all because of that. So Corey, thank you so much. If you want to be like him, we'll tell you how you can do it later, but it's very easy to figure out when we mentioned Patreon when we started. You've obviously sucked in some web content before, so I'm sure you understand the drift here.
Yeah, I think we got the idea. And we're going to start off with Fantomex's very first appearance.
No, we're not. What are you talking about?
This is not Fantomex's very first appearance?
No. Adam, how...
Does Fantomex pop up before this?
Yes, Adam.
I'm sorry, it's been a while.
Adam, you fake nerd boy.
Yeah.
You just aren't a real fan, and you need to accept that because you don't know exactly when in Grant Morrison's run Fantomex shows up.
How early does he show up? I forget.
Like the second to third arc.
Okay.
He shows
but
up.
He's not.
He doesn't show up in E is for Extinction. He doesn't show up in like the issues right afterwards of that. But then like right after that, there's an arc where Fantomex shows up and...
Oh, right. He's hanging out with, with Jean and I forgot about that. All right, forget I said that. This is like Tajikistan. Just forget about that.
You're just a heck-up machine. No. The first story we're going to talk about, since Adam's just not qualified. Qualified to say it. The first story we're going to talk about comes from Gmo's New X-Men. It's New X-Men 142 to 145, Assault on Weapon Plus. Written by Gmo himself. Pencils by Chris Bachalo, with inks by Tim Townsend.
Yeah. Yeah. And we start off with a very mopey Scott Summers here. That's for sure.
Scott Summers goes to the Hellfire Club, which is now a strip club. And he embarrasses himself in front of some strippers because he feels like he should be here because that's what his toxic masculinity brain says. And he's not having a good time. And the stripper's not having a good time. And Sebastian Shaw needles him for a bit because he just wants to get drunk because his infidelity has just become apparent and his entire life is crashing down in front of him. And that's when his good buddy Logan shows up.
Yeah, I like how the beginning of this issue kind of teases the idea that Emma is like playing Madeline Pryor to Scott's imagination, and then it just turns out to be this entertainer in the Hellfire Club. We also get this really great cameo of Sabretooth before Scott and Logan have a drinking contest.
Yeah, Sabretooth and Wolverine break all of the rules of the bathroom stall, and look at what the other's working with, and have an actual contest, deciding, you know, who's got more going, which is a weird but very funny addition to their rivalry. Though I'm gonna be real, you can't tell me they haven't been all natural around each other before.
That they remember. I mean,
that they remember. That's important, Adam. That's a good point.
See, true fans will know that this story involves Wolverine finally getting a comprehensive look at his background. Right?
Yeah, okay, yes. What a segue, because Wolverine's there and he says, Scott, we're going to have a drinking contest. You suck right now, but you'll be fine. Hey, this is my friend. His name's Fantomex. He's from the Weapon Plus program. He's Weapon 13. You know about the Weapon Plus program? No, you probably don't. Anyway, it's where I'm from. We're going to go attack them, and I'm going to figure out what my history is, kind of. I want to look at some files. They got some files on me, so I'm going to kill a lot of people so I can get some files, which is a very Wolverine thing to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, talk about world building. We've heard about the world before these issues, but the idea of what is actually going on inside gets fleshed out so much more in such rapid fire succession, especially in the second issue where they're just kind of wandering around. Mm-hmm. And we get a chance to learn all about the mechanics of how the world works.
Y'all know about the world, because if you don't know what we're talking about, it's going to sound very confusing. The world is a artificial world, I guess. Artificial...
It's a dome. And inside is an accelerated timeline.
Bubble thing.
Bubble? Yeah.
It's a sci-fi house.
Yeah. Yeah. And they kind of accelerate time so that they can develop crazy weapons.
Yeah, they hyper-evolve it. They hyper-evolve people there. So that's where Fantomex was raised, and he's got some unresolved issues about that. Wolverine knows that the world is related to the Weapon Plus program, which is part of Weapon X, which is what created him. Also involved in Weapon Plus was the robot animals known as Brute Force. I just want to make that very clear. They were part of Weapon 2, along with a squirrel that was Wolverine also.
Mm-hmm. Snicked with a little acorn over the eye, lowercase I, with an acorn. And in their travels, they are going to battle the Ultimaton, the Weapon 15.
Yeah, you're talking about Weapon 15 there.
Weapon 15, who's basically designed to just kind of like wipe out just about everything, right?
Yeah, Ultimatum's a good boy. He doesn't like that he wants to be part of the Super Sentinels, which was a team of mutant hunters that Weapon Plus ran by John Sublime. We won't get to him now. We will get to him when we eventually talk about Here Comes Tomorrow, which is wild. Mm-hmm. But John Sublime wanted to make all of these weapons as Super Sentinels, a TV superhero team that would kill mutants?
Yeah, it's very ecstatics.
It's very ecstatics at the exact same time.
Yep. Yeah, because they're going to be like the cool, stealth team, and I had forgotten about that little tweak in this story. It's very strange.
So
given
Weapon
that
13
was coming out.
Weapon 13 was part of the team, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
That's Fantomex. Weapon 15, Ultimatum. Assumedly, the Huntsman, Weapon 12, was part of it. You know who Weapon 14 was, though, right?
Who's Weapon 14?
Oh, Weapon 14 is a step for cuckoos.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah. So assumedly, they are also part of the superhero team.
It's a pretty cool team. It's a pretty cool team if you think about it.
Yeah. Anyway, they fight. Ultimatum has like a weird come to Space Jesus moment. He's like, why do I exist? What is this?
I love his existential crisis. He's like, what is the purpose of life? And, like, he could destroy everything, but he's kind of innocent in a way.
He is. And then he helps raise the very good boy Evan Sabanora later in the world. So,
yes.
Ultimatum, you're okay in my book. In this book, you're interesting. I'll tell you, I love Bachelot's art in this. I don't think anyone listening to this podcast is going to be shocked by that statement.
Oh, it's very good. Very, very layered. There's some really great full-page things where they're just wandering through the world, and there's no panels. It's just sequences where they're roaming from one thing to the next, or 2-page spreads like that that are fantastic.
Yeah, Chris has a great sense of design here that I really like. Here's what I'll say. I do like this story. It has a lot of elements that I enjoy. It's kind of weird nonsense, right?
Well, I mean, it's the world. It's the world, and like you can almost hear Morrison kind of like trying to pitch this somewhere, and people are like, "What? What are you talking about, sir?"
I like Gmo, but this is very much him taking ideas and literally throwing them at a wall over 4 issues of comics to various degrees of success. Like, I think the world's a cool concept. I think Fantomex being part of a television superhero team where he was designed to essentially be the Green Ranger is not that great of a concept.
Yeah, that added component just is unnecessary, and I don't think has ever been followed up on because it's silly. But the ideas of the world continue to fascinate me, and I love that they get a chance to explore this. For Chris's artwork, the only thing I don't love about this is, and I know Scott is supposed to be like super mopey here, I don't love the way Scott's drawn in these issues. Like,
he's a sad boy, Adam. He's sad.
Yeah. I mean,
he's so sad.
It definitely sells the sad, but just his face and the way that the visor is drawn, and it's just, if you look at the way Chris handles drawing Cyclops later in Uncanny, it's definitely a very different take on the character. So
I agree with that.
Yeah, it works for this story.
It's not my favorite Bachelot work. It's an interesting change of pace for the Grant Morrison run. Honestly, probably the weirdest stylistically of the entire run. Like, you got a lot of people, like, it starts with Frank Quitely, but Frank Quitely has a, like, hyper-real vibe to him.
Right.
Where you get other guys, like even Silvestri by the end of it, who still kind of fit in that same family as Frank Quitely. And I think that Bachelot, there's a line, but it's like a squiggly line to get to, like, that Frank Quitely style. And that doesn't work out so well in the grand scheme of things. It's not my favorite Grant Morrison story, but I like it.
Well, the only problem with this is, and I had forgotten, that this leads directly into Planet X.
Yes.
So it ends with the Weapon Plus satellite being blown up by Wolverine after he reads like everything that ever happened to him in his life. And there is no real conclusion to this story. It's just ba-boom, and then we're right into, Magneto taking over New York.
I agree with that. So we've got a lot of Grant Morrison stories on this list. So let's just throw it on the list because we have a very long list of all the X-Men stories that have ever existed, which according to this list, there are 366 of them. That number may need to be revised. In fact, we're going to add 3 more stories canonically to this list.
Woohoo!
The number 1 story on the list is the Dark Phoenix Saga. The number 100 story on this list is Uncanny X-Men Acts of Vengeance. That's not the time that Magneto threw Red Skull into the hole. That's the time that Psylocke did a body swap. But it had very pretty Jim Lee art. Number 200 is The Invisible Woman Has Vanished from X-Factor 200 to 202. Number 300 on our list is The Search for Cyclops. And 306 is The Draco, which is bad, and we shouldn't talk about it. Though we We'll have to talk about it later.
I was going to say, we're going to have to talk about it this episode. Now, we have E is for Extinction all the way up at number 7 on the list. This is not as good as that.
At 103, we have Murder at the Mansion, which is the arc directly before this.
Mm-hmm.
I think Murder at the Mansion is better.
I like the art in this better, but for story, for writing, I'm going to go with you on this. I think Murder at the Mansion is much better.
Is it better or worse than number 123, Jean Grey Psych War, which has a lot of this, which is like a Grant Morrison riff. It's a riff on Riot for most of it.
Yeah, Psych Wars is also seemingly like without a conclusion. You know, it kind of just gets left on a cliffhanger.
A little bit.
Right. Leaves you hanging. And at 119, we have another Chris Bachalo piece with Last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier, which I think
that's so high, right? Like, how
did
that happen?
I don't know, though. I think I might like that better than this, but this has all that really cool world stuff in it.
Here's what I'll say. Under that a bit, at 120 is Wolverine Snicked, which I just reread recently. It still rules. I like that better. Oh,
it's great. Yeah.
Below that, right at 121 is Amazing X-Men 1 through 5, The Quest for Nightcrawler. I think this is better than The Quest for Nightcrawler.
I think that's a good place for it on the list. So this would be our new 121.
This would be our new number 121. Assault on Weapon Plus.
Not Fantomex's first appearance.
It's
Thanks,
not.
Adam.
Come on,
you
bud.
Dork.
Come on, you goober. You're supposed to be the X-Men trivia boy.
I don't know. I have to look up the answers. You know what I mean?
Next time, just ask me for all the answers. I'll give them to you.
That's true. This next book I had never heard of.
Yeah, so this next book is a double tie-in?
Yeah, sure.
So this book, it came out in 2009. It's written by Jason Aaron with Assad Ribic on pencils. Tom Palmer does the inks, and Mr. Matt Wilson does those colors. It's Dark Reign, The List, Wolverine, number 1.
Not confusing at all.
Let's break this down into chunks, and we need to start from the very top. Adam, do you know what Dark Reign was?
Well, Dark Reign is when Norman Osborn takes over S.H.I.E.L.D. and turns it into Hammer, correct?
Hammer. Yes, that's exactly right. Do you know what The List was?
I don't know what The List is.
Norman Osborn had a list of things he wanted.
Oh.
And there were a bunch of one-shots about Norman Osborn getting things on his list.
Oh, well, that makes sense, because this story does start off with, and next on the list, and he points at the world and says, why don't I own this?
I want that. Give me
this.
I have weird hair, and I run the government, and I want this world. Let's break this down to its third component part. Do you know what Wolverine is?
Do I know who Wolverine is?
Yeah,
Wolverine.
If I say Wolverine is a concept, are you aware of him?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great.
I am.
Great. Readers, for those of you who don't know, he's a small, hairy, smelly Canadian man with swords in his hand.
Who's going to team up with, for the purposes of our episode, Fantomex, but also Marvel Boy?
Yeah, well, we're talking about Novar, the Protector.
Sure. Who recently left Osborn's Avengers. I know this because I read the intro in the issue.
Yeah, he did leave Osborn's Avengers. He was their Captain Marvel, I believe, in Osborn's Avengers. He once burnt a cuss in a couple of city blocks, which is pretty good. He's another Gmo creation. What do you know about Novar, Adam? Have you read Grant's Marvel Boy?
I have not. I don't know who he is.
That's fine. But Novar, he is a member of the Kree.
He's an insect. He's a part insect. I know that.
He's a member of the Kree from a different reality. He was genetically engineered to be a Kree cockroach hybrid. Because cockroaches can survive anything.
Yeah.
he's kind of a jerk. He gets a lot softer. He becomes a soft boy by the time Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey get him for Young Avengers. But for now, he's still mostly a jerk.
Yeah, and if you're listening right now and you're picturing Litterbug in your head, no, he just kind of looks like...
Quicksilver. He looks like Quicksilver.
Yeah, he looks like Quicksilver.
That's what he looks like.
Yeah.
He's Quicksilver, but he's wearing green.
They're going to go invade the world, right? It doesn't go as planned because Weapon 16 has been released into the air. Wolverine
Weapon 16 is a gas.
Right? Trying to kill Marvel Boy.
It's a gas called All God.
And
it's weaponized religion.
Yes, why can Fantomex not be affected by Weapon 16? I know you took issue with this.
No. I don't take issue with why Fantomex can't be impacted by Weapon 16. Fantomex can't be impacted by Weapon 16 because the nanites in his brain tell him that nothing can be better and more powerful than him. So he doesn't believe that a god could exist conceivably.
Right.
Marvel Boy says that yes, we obviously know there is no God. I am obviously an atheist. And listen, Adam, you're an atheist.
Yep, that's true.
That's fine. I have a weird, complicated relationship with religion that I don't want to put any labels on. Just in case, I'm hedging my bets really here. Jesus, if you're listening, get me to those pearly gates. But if we're going to be pedantic fanboys in the Marvel Universe, there is a very, very famous man. His name's Thor. He's the god of thunder. And he is an actual Norse god, and all of his friends are also gods, and they meet other gods all the time.
There's lots of gods walking around on Midgard all the time. So
we're not arguing about anything about the real world. It's a definitive truth that there are gods in the Marvel Universe.
Oh yeah, 100%. So it is very strange that Marvel Boy is able to not be infected by Weapon 16, but the two of them are going to try and kill the literal, physical, tangible brain of the world, which just looks like a big old brain.
Yeah, and they fight. It's pretty. Wolverine, being someone who is Thor's friend, does believe in gods, and is impacted by Weapon 16, the All-God. And they, Jean-Philippe and Novar have to fight. I think Asad Ribic does a really good job here with these fight scenes, though it's not my favorite Ribic art. It's not my favorite Ribic and Jason Aaron collaboration, because they're Thor God of Thunder, which, by the way, the name of that book is God of Thunder. It's very...
It's right there in the title.
And actually, Jason Aaron's entire pitch doesn't work unless Thor is a literal capital G god.
That's right.
For that book. But that's fine. I've just gotten fights with people on the internet recently, so I'm a little testy about it. That's a great one. And actually, I think Aaron, for all of his faults, handles his feelings on religion in that book in a much better and nuanced way than he does here, where it feels like a pretty edgy joke, and it's like, okay, whatever, you're not really saying anything here.
But we're missing, I think, the most important thing about this issue, which happens after all of the fight scenes with all of the zombified creatures in the world, and that is that we finally get an explanation for how Fantomex shrunk the world down.
He stole a shrink ray from Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
He stole a shrink ray, and he's like, and he's like,
yeah,
and this is mine now.
Which want happens this world off panel, and yet is like really, really important in later iterations of the world in canon. So that happens in this issue. Pretty wild.
This is an interesting issue. It's a fun little one-off. It reprinted in it is Jason Aaron's, I think, first Marvel story that he won a contest to get to write, which is pretty funny.
Can I ask you a question about that particular story, Zach?
I mean, I didn't reread it, but yeah, go ahead.
No, but I feel like, and I know that I think I saw this reprinted elsewhere. Like, I feel like whenever they want to do a Jason Aaron kind of retrospective, they pull out this story and they plop it in, but...
Yeah, it was originally published in 2002 in Wolverine 175.
Yeah.
And it's a Jason Aaron and Udon Studios story that's just about Wolverine asking if he's a good man or not. And And it's fine. Jason Aaron literally won a contest to write it. And look, worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah, good for Jason Aaron. And
it's not great, but hey, he's Jason Aaron. I have all of his Thor over here. I have all of his Doctor Strange over here. It's pretty good.
Well, that was what I was going to say, is like the story, I'm historically great, cool. I'm glad Jason broke into Marvel Comics and is doing amazing things and has done amazing things and continues to, but the story itself is like not that
It's
great.
the kind of contest that it's the kind of story that you'd expect from someone who won a contest.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Especially the art. The art's like...
Well, that's... Udon Studios... Not my favorite. And also, it's a writing or an art studio, so it's it varies in quality.
Sure. Anyway, I think we can kind of leave that out of the ranking. It has nothing to do with the actual story of...
No, it was their justification to add $1 to the price tag.
Yeah. And you don't have to read this. I mean, this really is kind of inconsequential in the grand scheme, unless you really wanted to know how Fantomex shrunk down the world. Like, that's really the most... Right? I mean, That's the most consequential action that happens in this issue.
I think Fantomex and Novar's back and forth can be fun.
Sure.
Because they're both big old jerks who are self-obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a whatever comic.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing you expect from a double tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's look on our list. At 197, we have Madrox, and I don't think this is as good as Madrox.
No, I would agree with that. I'm looking lower than that. How about the first 6 issues of Jeff Parker's Exiles? Better or worse than that?
I think it's worse than that, but I think we're in the right area. Because I think it's better than, 218, which is the X-Men Legacy 2 issues after Age of X.
Yeah, I don't think I would go any higher than that, though, because the right above that is that really fun Weapon X arc where Sabretooth was in charge. And
you mean where Omega Red gets a tiger? Oh, yeah. We said it at the same time!
Tiger Jinx. Yeah, this should be our new 218, I think. That's a good spot for it.
This will be our new 218. It's Dark Reign, the list - Wolverine.
All right, deep breath, everybody. Deep breath.
Okay, guys, we're going to talk about a bad one here. This one's real bad. Yeah, y'all, we're going to talk about Fantomex MAX.
Yep. So the content warning before we get into this last story, there are some major issues with this, and there's definitely going to be at least a reference to sexual violence in this part of the conversation. So maybe that's not for you. But anyway, let's talk about this incredibly bad comic book.
Okay, so this came out in 2013, written by Andrew Hope, with pencils by Sean Crystal. It's a 4-issue Max Comics miniseries.
What is a Max comic book? I need to know.
It's a Marvel comic book, except for they can say cusses and swears.
Oh, right. That's why they're cursing as if it's a Tarantino film all of a sudden.
Okay. So most Max comic, well, I don't want to say most, I don't know. A chunk of the Max comics are non-canonical. They aren't 616 continuity. Fantomex MAX is not. Punisher MAX is not. Alias is. But that's fine. Alias is the best. Well, I've not read the Punisher one. People tend to like Garth Ennis's Punisher. Alias is very good. This is nowhere near the quality of those two.
Oh no, this is straight up garbage.
Oh, it's trash. It's trash. So I was looking up some background on this because I was not familiar with Andrew Hope as a writer.
Guess what? No one is.
No. He did a couple of things in the early 90s with collaborating with future comic book superstar Mark Millar, who this book feels very influenced by.
Oh, sure. Definitely. Trying to catch that sort of raw edginess of Mark Millar.
It's trying to be on the cutting edge of 2006.
I guess. Sure. And we could get into how this is definitely trying to be edgy, but continue
because
on.
It says
tell me more.
Swears constantly. Yes.
Yes.
And they're bad. They're like, it's like a 8-year-old who just realized that he can say all the cusses, but he's not good at it.
Exactly. It's like, hey, I know how to string some words together that happen to be bad words, and I'm going to say them. It's very, very middle school. But I believe we did a little bit of digging into a Newsarama article and basically I think Andrew Hope knew Mark Millar, who kind of Andrew Hope started with this pitch, and then
here is what is recorded fact.
Yes.
Andrew Hope had a friend who was a Scottish writer. Don't know who that could be. Maybe Grant Morrison. Probably the other guy. Probably his only other friend and collaborator.
Who he worked with.
And that Scottish writer had a pitch for Fantomex MAX that just wasn't working out. And Andrew Hope worked with Axel Alonso to make that pitch happen. And that pitch became this book.
Yeah, I'll say the pitch wasn't working.
Can you imagine? Hold on. Can you imagine what the initial pitch was that was so bad that they said, this is a market improvement on it?
I cannot, because even the final product is nigh incomprehensible. I mean, if you could try to give me a concise explanation of the villain's plot in this story, I think I might pay you, because you can't. Like, the explanation. All right, first of all, there is a villain that explains the evil plot in this, very James Bond villain style.
Very much saying, well, I am going to explain my plot to you.
Exactly. And it takes many, many, many pages over multiple issues filled with an exposition dump, and it still doesn't make a damn bit of sense.
Yeah, so here's from a high level what happens. Fantomex, Charlie Cluster 7, and his sexy helicopter, Eva, are hanging out and being chased by Agent Rhonda Fleming. No relationship to Ian, I'm sure. James Bond writer Ian Fleming.
Also, no relation to actual Marvel Comics character Rhoda Fleming, who is apparently an Inhumans character. Because when I looked up Rhonda Fleming to see if there was any other mention of this character anywhere, there is not. Thank God.
There is not. She's chasing Fantomex, and he's flirting with her somehow by throwing her out of airplanes. Bad way to flirt, Fantomex. But she gets assigned to Grover Lane, which is a super secret Black Ops organization led by this guy named Stuart Sterling, who is essentially an Emperor Zod type character. And then he has two henchmen who are Emperor Zod's two henchmen from Superman 2. And they go to are they in Antarctica or the Marianas Trench? Which one?
Believe they're in Antarctica, but only because the author makes a very awkward attempt at a pop culture reference by referencing The Thing. So maybe they're in the Marianas Trench. It's very confusing.
Fantomex definitely goes to the Marianas Trench. Oh yeah, that's right. There's a super weapon to blow up an asteroid. Yes. That you need 7 keys for, but there's a secret master 8th key that is in the Marianas Trench for some reason. That Fantomex goes to get. Again, not sure why he's doing any of this.
There's really no reason for it. There's no motivation.
He's just doing it, and because it's the plot of the story, you're like, okay. So he goes to the Marianas Trench, gets this key, finds this guy who's like, I secretly invented everything, including Eva. Which is dumb and doesn't go anywhere. Tries to give Eva a crisis of conscience. By the way, Eva's not a weird UFO thing. Nope. She's a sexy hologram like Cortana, but like very sexy, like uncomfortably sexy. Yeah,
can we just pause for a second? Because I feel like we're actually doing an okay job explaining the plot of this book.
I've thought about it for so long.
The book does a terrible job in explaining or showing any of what it is that we are talking about. And the overriding thing that I'm taking away from this book is the unbelievable amount of misogyny to its female characters.
Oh yeah, we're good people, so we don't repeat that part of the story to each other when we're explaining it. I forgot about that. Yeah, every other word is misogynistic and very bad to both the antagonists, the protagonists, and the tentative love interest, I guess, but she's not even a love interest in so much as that she literally exists to get yelled at for being a woman and sexually assaulted. That's her entire role in the entire story, and it's absolutely horrifying that this got published.
Yeah, that is where the book really crosses a line, and I know that I said to you before we even recorded this that I think this may possibly be the worst thing that we have read for the show, if only because what I can tolerate is what we talked about a few minutes ago, this idea of sort of the middle schooler learning how to curse and figuring that out for the first time.
Which is annoying and bad.
It is. It's extremely annoying. It's extremely bad, but it feels very sort of like prepubescent and just sort of like, figuring it out. Okay, I maybe could overlook that if you did not have the protagonist of this story is quote unquote Fantomex, but the other character of interest in this story is this Rhonda Fleming character. And like you said, she basically serves to be a either sexual interest or to be attacked sexually in this book. That's really it. She gets beat up. She gets manhandled and is really just there to like somehow still be like a subject of interest for multiple other characters. Now, and that's just one character. The other huge problem we have here is that this author seems to have absolutely no idea who Fantomex is. And along with that, seems to have no idea who EVA is. So
yeah, that part's very bad.
EVA is turned into a like basically a sex bot. I don't know how else to put it. She's constantly just obsessed with talking to Fantomex through the walkie-talkie about ways that she wants to serve him. And it's terrifying. Like it's just so gross and so off from what the model of this character is. And that's excusing all the stuff about her quote unquote origin, which makes no sense.
And it's not even really followed up on in this 4-issue series. Right. At all. It's like she goes off page to learn about her origin, and by the end she's like, I'm a different woman now.
Right. Well, she's a different woman now who can now have a robot body so that she can pleasure her slave owner. I mean, I don't know how else to put this. Like, it's really creepy.
Adam, this is a bad comic.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's just bad. It doesn't care about any of the cool stuff about Fantomex. Gmo created Fantomex as a parody, and Fantomex works best when everyone realizes that, yeah, he's over the top and intentionally so, and he's literally the coolest character ever, but it's all fake.
Right.
That works, and when you play into that stuff where he thinks he's better than anything ever, you can do some super interesting things with him. When you just make him, hey, I'm a very serious super spy, it's boring as all get out. And that part sucks. Fantomex is not well understood in this. This is one of the worst comics towards women I have ever read. I say very clearly that this is the worst trade that I own, and I feel bad about selling it because I don't want other people to have to experience it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful that this is not on Unlimited. This is not something that you're going to be able to easily just acquire. And the only redeemable thing that I can say about it at all is that it has really beautiful covers.
Oh, they're Francesco Francavilla covers, and they are absolutely gorgeous pulp novel covers that fit exactly what you'd want a Fantomex series to be. Like, these covers could go on a better book, and we would not stop talking about them.
If only you could turn the page from the cover to the inside and have some kind of artistic quality like that. The quality of the artwork in here is fine. It's a cartoony style. It's loose. It's fluid. I think with another writer, it could be even fun. But it's static in its fluidity only because there's nothing for the characters to do. They may occasionally do a flip. Something may occasionally blow up, but there's so much exposition and blah, blah, blah that there's nothing for it to do.
I think one of the biggest flaws of it, and I like in general, I think Sean Crystal does an admirable job as a artist on this.
Sure.
He's the wrong artist for this book.
Absolutely.
Because the hyper cartoony nature makes this stuff like the misogyny and the sexual assault scenes and all of that play like the writer and the creative team is making light of it and making fun of it. Like, this isn't a big deal. This is like it's not even like a Mark Miller-y way where Mark Miller will do these things because he thinks it makes the story more serious.
Mm-hmm.
And like, at least he's framing those things. This is damning with the faintest praise. At least he's framing those things as obviously bad and horrific and a horrible thing, and he's using them because he can't write well. Whereas with Sean Crystal's art here, it frames it as flippant. It frames it as, this is just this little thing. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna throw around some words that we cannot repeat on this podcast. And it'll just be a fun cartoon thing.
It's applying Looney Tunes logic in a lot of ways to things that are extremely dark, and it is all the more offensive because of that. You know, there really is no excuse for it. I find it reprehensible that this got published.
Yeah, it's one of the wildest things. It's bad. Don't look it up. Don't find it. You can see the best cover on our album art for this episode. So, like, look at that and say, "Oh, that's neat. Good job, Francisco," and then ignore it.
Yes, write your own Fantomex story. I guarantee yours will be better.
It would be hard to be worse.
Have Fantomex go to the local store and buy cigarettes, and that will be a better story than this one.
Okay, hold on. That might actually be good. Hold on, Adam. I'm going to send you like a 4-page write-up tomorrow. We'll talk.
All right, here we go. We got this.
So I'm looking at our list. Here's what I know for sure. Here's what I know for sure. Here's what I know for sure. Number 364 is Witchblade Wolverine, and that is a much better comic than this.
And keep in mind, folks, that's like the bottom 5.
Yes, so we're starting from the bottom 5, and the 5th worst is like, oh yeah, I'd read that 400 times before this.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. Witchblade Wolverine is better than Fantomex MAX. So we're getting
NYX,
into the bottom 4 here.
I think NYX, which is right under it, NYX is a flawed story. However, NYX is flawed because it tries to say something and utterly fails in every conceivable way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's trying. And I think that's better than this also.
Yeah, and I think we also really piled on NYX when we talked about it on the show because of the some of the issues that it has in terms of depicting its characters sexually when it doesn't need to. And this Fantomex MAX, I think, does it even worse.
Yeah, NYX tried, at least. NYX was self-aware enough to know that, oh, these are bad things that are happening, and we're just being edgy to, like, show these bad things. But we're showing them in a way that, like, this is bad. Not, this is a fun comic cartoon adventure.
Right. And the structure in NYX is better than Fantomex MAX for all of its flaws.
Yes. Okay, so Holy War is under that. Holy War is also a story that is filled with exposition about a nonsense plot, has pretty much bad everything, and yet I also think it's better than Fantomex MAX, and I hate Chuck Austin's Holy War.
I'm going to agree with you. I mean, when we did Holy War, we got furiously angry on this show. And yet, somehow, I think that story is better than Fantomex MAX. I mean, we're talking about a book that fails on every conceivable level. It's so bad. So now we're down to the bottom two, and we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here with Phoenix Legacy of Fire.
Okay, here's where I'm at. I think X-Men Phoenix Legacy of Fire is the most comparable X-Men story to this for a number of reasons. 1, bad art. 2, nonsense story. 3, real gross stuff happening to the characters.
Yep.
4, also being a Max book. I think
He's processing.
I think this is worse than Legacy of Fire, but I think there are 2 reasons why this should be our new 368, not 369.
Okay. I'm ready to hear this because I'm with you on the fact that I think this is worse than Legacy of Fire, if only because if I were to defend Legacy of Fire in any way, which, God, please don't arrest me after I say what I'm about to say.
I'm listening to this.
There is the basest amount of artistic intent with Legacy of Fire that it at least knows it is supposed to be pervy, and yet it doesn't quite know just how objectionable it is. You know what I mean? Right? So...
Okay, you're not wrong.
Right? Like, this book...
I can't believe that we're ranking something under Legacy of Fire because, well, at least Legacy of Fire knows it wants to be a titty mag.
I mean, I don't know how else to... Yeah.
That's
okay. So
you're not wrong is the problem.
Yeah. All right. So we know we're there. Please tell me why Fantomex MAX, a completely irredeemable piece of garbage, is better than our last story on the list, which is the Draco.
I've actually got 3 reasons now.
All right. Let me hear them. I want to hear this.
Number 1. Got some real pretty covers. Like, these aren't just okay covers. These are real good
We're
covers.
basing it on the covers? All right. Give me 2. What's number 2?
Number 2. This is the same logic we applied when we put the Draco below Legacy of Fire, in that Fantomex MAX is a book that we can forget about tomorrow and nothing will ever happen, where we can never escape the Draco. In X-Men comics, it will never happen. Where Fantomex MAX, it was irrelevant when it was coming out.
That is an excellent point. And what's number 3?
Number 3, I can stand to joke about the Draco every freaking week on this.
I knew you were going to say that.
Damage
Don't
is
want to
already
mention
done.
this
The Draco's
ever
out
again,
there.
right?
People know about the Draco.
Yeah.
If we put this at the bottom of our list,
We have to talk about it every episode.
and people are going to look for it. That's the thing. People are going to try and find this book because they're saying, this is the worst X-Men story of all time? Well, I've got to find that out. We're going to be responsible for an aftermarket boom of this. The BotA Boy bump on this
all right.
horrible comic.
You sold me, and here's why you sold me is for the basic reason that this is not in continuity and doesn't need to be taken as such and gets it so wrong that we don't need to think about it again. So just scraping by. It's not at the bottom of the list, but this is our new 368.
This is 368. It's Fantomex MAX. Guys, I know you might be interested.
Just skip it, man. Please just skip it.
Don't
do it.
Don't do it. It's so bad. It's so bad. Look up the covers. The covers are pretty. And then if they sold each of those covers for $3.99 and then like 30 pages of blank pages afterwards, this thing goes up maybe 100 spots.
Those 4 pages. Very good. Okay.
They're real pretty.
We've done it, Zach. We've dealt with another 4 issues of absolute trash.
Remember when we ranked Holy War not that long ago?
Yeah.
And we said, well, we've got our bottom 3. This is never changing. And we forgot.
You warned me about this book. I knew it was coming.
I forgot that we were talking about it this week, and let's not talk about it again. What we should talk about is our good bud Corey, who went over to patreon.com/XavierFiles, and Corey made us talk about Assault on Weapon Plus, the best story we talked about on this episode.
Thank you.
Which, good for Corey. We did the rest. The rest is our bad. Because we hurt ourselves, I guess. So that we feel something during these Rona times.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be like Corey, go on over to Patreon. Look for the Battle of the Atom Patreon. At the $2 a month level, you can get just an episode built around one of your suggestions. At the $5 a month level, you get early access to every episode and a chance to vote on some of the other stories that we talk about. So, like, I know the Dark Wolf or the Dark Reign, the list was something someone suggested. So we threw that on the list. So there's a lot of good stuff going on. You can find me on Xavier Files, the website. It's got good stuff. Comics are back, baby. So I just wrote about Ant-Man, which I like.
Yeah.
I like Zeb Wells' Ant-Man, guys.
We may even see some X-related titles in the coming weeks.
I mean, we got a bit, bud.
Yeah, I know.
But that's got a bit.
Listen, it's fine. However this shakes out. And New Mutants got another release date today.
Oh, yeah. I have to update the spreadsheet that's scheduling things for this podcast, because I had just taken it off the list. I said, we'll do our New Mutants episode at some point.
Yes, and now that it has its 5th theatrical release date.
What is that date?
August 28th. So
August 28th.
Yeah, just before my birthday. Gonna be wearing the hazmat suit to go see New Mutants.
It could be episode 160.
Okay.
But it probably won't, actually.
We'll see.
When you put it in those terms, this is 146. We're only 14 BotAs away.
It's coming. It's coming soon.
We're 14 BotAs from New Mutants. I think that's all you can find me. I think we're going to have some dumb pieces up over the last week that I think are fun. You can tell quarantine's getting to us. So check out the website. Adam, Twitter, Xavier Files, go there. Adam, where can people find you and what do you got going on? I heard you've been busy, bud.
Guys, you can always follow me at Arthur Stacy, and I've been doing X-Men trivia. So that was fun. Follow at Arthur Stacy. I believe the day this episode comes out, I will probably be doing a second round. And if you miss it live, that's okay. You can always just go back and watch the archive video and test your smarts. So,
I lost X-Men trivia by I didn't tally it up. I lost by 1 point, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you did a really good job, Zach.
I lost by 1 point because I forgot the name of Nature Girl's friggin' bear, and I said, I don't know, it's something with mushrooms. It's something with mushrooms. It's fungus.
You weren't completely wrong. You were correct. It did have something to do with mushrooms, but
I'm so mad at myself. Next week, though, we're gonna not be mad because we're gonna have friend of the show Stephanie Burt on, because we are gonna talk about sometimes when the Fantastic Four and the X-Men were around.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be great. So until then, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!